Hey guys, Proto here. In this video I'll be teaching you on what equipment you should get when making a YouTube gaming channel. I'll go over all the aspects such as hardware and software, and if you're thinking, damn I don't have all that money to spend, because believe me, YouTube can get pricey really fast, then don't worry. And next week I will be going over how to start a channel for free, and this week I'll go over kind of like a starter pack on what you need to start. You know, because that's what a starter pack is. Anyway, I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but in the meantime, let's get into it. Now in terms of audio, there are a couple of options. I don't recommend you use a webcam or a headset mic just because the audio is really crappy and compressed. But when looking for a mic, try looking for a cardioid condenser microphone with a USB input. It's because it allows your beautiful voice to be clearly portrayed in the video and makes a world of a difference. Now I say USB because most people want a good enough mic that doesn't use XLR or the 3.5mm jack. The thing about it this way, when you watch a video and the audio shit, you just click off, whereas not having great gameplay is somewhat forgivable. This is because no one wants to hear a terrible, hissing, mic thumping, rage-inducing noise. And there are tons of people who do have good audio, but skimping on it is going to set you behind, and chances are no one wants to watch you. Now for most people I recommend getting the Blue Snowball Ice, which costs £50, and pairing that with a pop filter, which is another £5. Now personally I use the regular Blue Snowball, but the only difference between this and the Ice is that the Ice only has one mode, and that's cardioid instead of the 3. Yet that's the only one I use. Now using a pop filter will get rid of the disgusting pop noises that you get when air hits the mic too hard and fast.
Ladies?
Now the pop filter only costs £5 and will step up your comms by a lot. I don't really recommend going with anything less than the Ice, but hey, choice is yours. Now if you do have more money and you want to improve the quality by a ton, then look at something like the Blue Yeti or some Rode mics or Sennheiser mics. I personally think you should avoid the Razer Siren because I don't think it's that great. My favourite one is Blue and the quality is top notch. Now let's say you've got the mic, now what you need is an audio recording program. Now there are certain video editing softwares with this built in, but in terms of the best, I think Audacity is the way to go. It's free and gives you a ton of options to remove noise, normalize, equalize, and to improve your mic sound by a ton. I've got a tutorial on my channel on this, down in the description below, so check that out if you need to. The next topic is background music. I'm going to tell you now that you don't need this, and there's nothing worse than a channel where the music drowns out the commentary. But I use it in mine. I think that's good in a number of ways. Firstly, I live in a somewhat loud house and neighbourhood with things going on all the time, so whilst I try to remove all background noise, the music drowns out the really low pitched sounds that make it through the audio process. And if you balance the sound right, you can get a much better video. Now the only ones I use are no copyright sounds on YouTube and Epidemic Sound, and no copyright sounds are free, and all you have to do is download the music, put it in your videos and give them credit in the artist as well. Their stuff is really good, and for other things I use Epidemic Sound. Now Epidemic Sound is a paid platform, but since I'm partnered with Curse, I have access to all songs for my videos for free. I'll make another video about partnering since it doesn't really belong in here, but this is a good place to get your music from. By the way, I've put in a link below on how to balance audio so your commentary sounds even better with music. Now if you plan to do FACECAM for live streaming or other things and you need a camera or a webcam. Now you can use an older camera or a new DSLR and sync it, but often it's inconvenient and expensive, so I recommend getting a webcam, if that's what you do. I recommend getting the Logitech C920, which will set you back £60, or if you're on a budget, the Logitech C270 or the Microsoft LiveStreaming HD3000, which costs less than a third of the price. The difference between these is mostly resolution and autofocus, with the cheaper ones at 720p and the £60 one at 1080p. Since it's going to be in a small corner of your screen, the cheaper options are still really good, and for most people, it's the one I recommend since we don't need to worry about the built-in mic improvements. Now as mentioned, some of the more expensive ones come with better autofocus too, but whether it's enough to make it a viable option is up to you. These will just sit on your monitor and are perfect for live comms. Next is going to be a camera for a few other things like reviews, again, FaceCam or other things. Some people might have the money to fork out and buy a DSLR or a camera which shoots 4K, but unless you can really afford it, your phone actually doesn't do too bad of a job. For me, I don't do FaceCam, but for all my reviews, I've been using my iPhone 4S with a mixture of Filmic Pro and the built-in camera app. And for the AVIO review I did recently, I upgraded to the Galaxy Note 4. The thing with the Note is that you can buy them at a reasonably cheap price, and this one has built-in options for ISO and frame rate, so I can record up to 1080p 60fps, 1440p at 30fps, or even 4K at 30fps. Now does this replace a professional DSLR? No, of course not. But for most people who have a good enough phone to do that, and provided you give it enough light, you can still get great quality for free. Now if you do this though, be sure to have proper lighting. I found a 2-point lighting kit on eBay for like £30. And if you then drop the ISO and use a noise removal plugin like I do, you can get really great results. Now for a way to record your footage, there are a few options. Now if you're on PC, you can buy a software like Fraps or DxTory, but for the most part, I recommend getting a free one like OBS, ShadowPlay or Raptor. A few weeks ago I broke down the difference between them, and I really suggest that you check them out. Now if you're not on PC, you can't use these to record your footage, so what you need is a HDMI recorder for your console. Now these are called capture cards and they're often pretty expensive. A long time ago I actually made a video on the best capture card comparison and a breakdown, but for today's sake I'm going to be telling you that no one wants to watch a crappy 240p quality video. HD 720p is the bare minimum and 1080p being preferred, and for the most part 720p 60fps is okay, but 1080p 60fps is even better. So to name a few, Elgato is generally considered the best price performance, and that's because their software is also really nice to use. When I started I used the Elgato HD and I have to say it was great. Through this I was recording 720p 60fps, and with that said I would say look at the Hauppauge HD Rocket, which costs £100 if you're doing a lot of recording and won't always have your computer with you, because it can record to USB. If you're on an extreme budget then look at something like the Nvidia GL310 LGP Lite, and this does 1080p at 30fps or 720p at 60fps and costs us £60. This is the cheapest out of all the ones I've found which are actually pretty decent. And the extreme version of this is called the Nvidia Live Gamer Extreme, and does all of this but at 1080p 60fps and does cost £100. The last options I'd recommend is you take a look at the Elgato HD60 and the Elgato HD60 Pro. These are the most expensive of the bunch, but they're definitely worth it, and speaking from experience I've had mostly positive experiences with the Elgato product. But the software is extremely good and out of this world for simplicity and ease of use. Again, my older videos cover these in depth, so check them out below. For my last one for hardware, it's a PC. Now for YouTube you do need a good PC, and once you can make do with a laptop, don't expect to be able to stream on it or do very heavy editing. Now the one I started with had a 2TB hard drive and i5 processor and 8GB of RAM. This was of course a desktop PC. Now I did upgrade in the end though because I didn't like the render times and wanted to do more with my PC in terms of content creation and gaming. Now you can buy a decent PC for £300 or just use a laptop. Be sure to make sure that whatever you're using is actually good enough to run the capture cards or the screen cap software. If you're planning to get a PC, I'd recommend building your own. There's plenty of suggested build guides and tutorials on my channel for that. And now we move on to the software side. So I've already covered an audio recording software and screen recording software if you're a PC gamer, but you'll need a photo editing software for your graphics and also a video editing software to actually make your videos. For photo editing I use Photoshop, but a good free alternative is GIMP and Paint.net. With some practice you can still produce awesome results, and I wouldn't get caught on this too much though. But with this you'd make your video graphics that you put in, such as an outro, pictures and especially your thumbnails, because no one likes the stock ones that YouTube suggests, and you won't get anyone watching it if it has a default one. Now for the video editing side of things, I personally like to use Sony Vegas because it's pretty easy to learn, but you'll find that the most popular option is Sony Vegas Pro or Adobe Premiere. If you're looking for a good option which is free too, there are two in my opinion, which is HitFilm 3 Express or Lightworks. Now these are linear editors and I'd even consider making a video in HitFilm, but it's got a very Premiere and After Effects feel to it. It supports rendering of 1080p 60fps files and has a ton, and I mean ton, of options and effects that you'll find on ones like Sony Vegas. You can get Sony Vegas Studio, which is similar to the Pro version, but then again, HitFilm is great. Links in this are in the description. I just want to say that for people looking down on videos based on what they're made are idiots. For example, people who say that videos made on Sony Vegas or videos created on HitFilm are amateur and Premiere is the only way to go are delusional. No one actually gives a fuck on what you use to make them, and for all I care you could use Windows Movie Maker. What people see is the end result, and if it's good, they couldn't give two shits on what you used. So don't let the idea of, oh I have to shell out tons of money, diminish you, because you really don't need to. So overall, getting the equipment depends on what you're doing, and if you think this is too big of a pill to swallow, which for a lot of people is, then I'll be making a tutorial on how to start making videos for free. Also, I really do suggest buying gear second hand from places like eBay or Craigslist, or even Gumtree if you're in the UK, because you can save a lot of money, and people are always quitting what they're not successful at. Of course, you and I are different, but I wouldn't suggest buying the gear if you're not sure whether you want to actually do this. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything, and relevant links are in the description, so smash that like button if you found this helpful, and comment down what you use for YouTube, like mics, capture card, etc. Anyway, thanks for watching, stay tuned, this has been Proto, adios!